What's going on, everybody? I'm Josh Morris, and you are watching the Everything Paranormal Show. Thank you for joining me, whether you're joining me live tonight or whether you're watching from the replay. I appreciate you checking out my video, and I hope that you stay here for the entire video. There's a lot to cover, and there's a lot of great things to learn because tonight we're going to be talking about um, some things that shaped the narrative of what I'm getting ready to discuss tonight. We're also going to be discussing reincarnation theory. Okay, and it's going to be like my theory, and I'll cover that here in a second. And we'll talk about more, I'm sure. So stick around through the entire video, okay? And that's going to lead me into this next little section. So first of all, Oracles and Beyond, hello, family, boo. So it's good to see you guys popping in here. But yes, we're going to be talking about reincarnation theory today. So the first thing I want to cover is the trigger warning. Okay. And nowadays we need to have trigger warnings, I think, in just about everything we do. So there is going to be parts of this discussion that's going to talk about Christianity. It's going to talk about the Bible, things like that. If these things somehow trigger you, I just want to give you a heads up because, again, we are going to be discussing those things. So I definitely want to give you that trigger warning. Rich Wheeler, what's going on, buddy? So before we really dive into reincarnation theory, I'd like to at least just kind of start off by talking about it's an article from CBS Los Angeles. It's it is a little older. It's a few months back. But the reason why I want to talk about it is just because I thought it'd be fun, and plus we want to get everybody in to the live stream before we really get into the main topic, because tonight's main topic about reincarnation is going to be pretty like packed with stuff. So I want to make sure that for those of you that are watching this live, that you get to kind of catch all the pieces, because it's going to be laid out for you. I'm going to lay things out for you, and then you can make your own decisions or your own judgments or opinions later on. One of the articles, though, that from CBS Los Angeles, I wanted to just kind of bring up. The headline of the article was reports of paranormal activity on the rise during coronavirus stay-at-home orders. So I thought that was pretty cool. I thought I'd like to share the opinion. Here's some of the base of the article. You can see where the article says, we'll go ahead and read. There has been an increase in the number of reports of possible hauntings at homes amid the pandemic lockdown. Believers say that they have no way to keep themselves socially distanced from the spirit world, and claim that they have been subjected to an extra dose of paranormal activity during the coronavirus quarantine. And of course, it goes on to talk about paranormal investigators believe that any likely like the real deal, but others have simpler explanations. And then there's a quote from Jason Haas from Ghost Nation talking about noise in the woods and blah, 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 whatever. So anyways, but I wanted to share that with you guys. I thought that was kind of a cool little opening topic for us to talk about real quick. The coronavirus and us being at home a lot more. Now, granted, in some states, we've kind of been lifting things. There's been a lot of that. But it makes sense. And I like to equate it to this. It's kind of like when you have that car, right? And you crank up the radio and you're driving around and you're driving to work, you're going about your busy life. And then one day you decide to leave the radio off. And all of a sudden you're hearing these weird noises with your engine. Maybe your brakes are kind of starting to squeal a little bit. You're hearing some knocks in something. You're hearing odd noises with your car. And it's like, that's how I view this whole people are experiencing more paranormal when they're at home more, because they're at home more. They're not focused on their busy lives and going out to work and taking the kids to school. Well, now that most people are stuck at home or doing a lot of homeschooling, it gives us a chance to be at home. And now all of a sudden you stop and you look around. It's just like turning that radio off. And now you just start hearing all the noises, and it helps you to tune back in. So I thought that was pretty cool. Hi, Danielle. And hey, Bob. See, you popped in there. I try to pay attention. Now, guys, I will also give you another warning because tonight we're going to be focusing on a big topic of reincarnation. There's a lot for me to cover. So if I miss comments or questions, I apologize. So just keep that in mind. We got a lot to cover tonight. So just hang in there. And I'll try to maybe get back to some of them if they're and if I did pass yours up and it's been a while, toward the end of the show, we'll try to catch anybody if you have any other questions or anything about that. So one thing I wanted to get into as we're going to go ahead and start talking about reincarnation and my theories. Now, again, this is the reason why I said there was kind of a trigger warning is because my view on reincarnation is more from a Christianity standpoint. Okay. And I know that reincarnation, you have other beliefs in other parts of the country. This isn't so much a video on reincarnation as an entire whole of different views. And, we're not doing the whole scope. We're just doing my opinions of what I feel, what I stumbled onto, and the research that I've done and all those things. So, and Rich does say, I guess, I'll cover this real quick before I really get into reincarnation. He says a push on lockdowns will happen as COVID-19 V2 hits us mid-October, and they will hit it hard. And we will hear numbers pushing 400,000 deaths. Well, yeah, I mean, I'm sure that as we get into winter, without getting too political, there's probably political motives that we're going to see going into this. But at the same time, I think a lot of Americans are kind of like, all right, whatever. So we'll see. So we'll see how that goes. I see you see me. You popped in there. Hey, how's it going? But no, Rich, that brings up a good point, and I'm glad you said that. Again, as we do get into this season, but I think we're going to start seeing a lot more pushback on facts with flu deaths and other things that are happening. I think we're going to start seeing. Because one thing I'm even curious about is what is our net deaths this year compared to last year? Are we actually netting more deaths, even though they said like coronavirus, like a couple 100,000 deaths? But is that taking place of deaths that were already going to occur? Because there has been a lot of people that were in their final stages of certain cancers and things like that. So I guess I'm kind of curious to see what's the overall net deaths of this, because again, this is like a 99.96 survivability rate. Anyways, I don't want to get too much because I know YouTube or Facebook will probably take me down now for talking about it. All right. So I'm going to get into this part. So what shaped me? So let me kind of back up a little bit and explain to you guys where I've been. Let me kind of explain to you what where I was at even maybe like 3-4 years ago. Well, I'll go back all the way. So I grew up in a household mainly from like the age of 5-ish, I was raised by my grandparents. So I grew up in a home that and they were young, like young grandparents. In fact, both of them are still alive right now. And so they were young. My grandma had my mom at 17. My mom had me at 17. So most people thought that my grandparents were my parents. But as far as religion goes, I think they believed in God and Jesus Christ, and I'm not sure what all church they went to growing up and things like that. But they didn't take me to church on a regular basis. They didn't push it on me. I did have some natural curiosities. I went to some vacation Bible schools. It was it was pretty cool in that sense. Like I got to kind of learn on my own, and I attended services on my own out of curiosity. And I think, and then when I got into my my teens, I did attend like a Catholic service. Um, I started checking out some other places as an adult. As a young adult, I started attending some churches. I was actually a chapel rope in the military while I was going through uh, tech training, technical school. I actually was a chapel rope, meaning that I went to church every Sunday and volunteered my services. I attended like a Protestant church. Um, but I wouldn't say like I was ever die hard about it. I think I was baptized, when I was younger. But as an adult, again, I just kept kind of drifting away, I think. And then as I started getting in my 30s and maybe even early 40s here, I really started drifting away from Christianity. And I started kind of telling myself, like, and I almost found myself saying, like, well, maybe Jesus was just a guy, and things were a certain way, and maybe there's a God. But again, it was just a lot of that as you're getting older and you're looking at the world views, and it was just one of those times in my life. And again, I'm not preaching. You guys can believe whatever you want to believe. I'm just explaining kind of what is led me on my journey here for reincarnation, and things like that. But so again, I had gotten kind of far away from my beliefs, I guess you'd say, or Christianity. And so one of my friends or ex friends, I guess, whatever, one of the guys I used to work with, his name was Brian. And he, we used to have a few in depth discussions, to say the least, right? Every once in a while, we would talk about a few um, just in depth stuff, whatever. But he challenged my beliefs, and I don't mean that like in a I don't mean that in a bad way. Okay, he didn't challenge my beliefs like for anything bad or negative. Um, but when I say challenge my beliefs, it's just that he got me to start reading and researching, and that actually is a good thing. So I try to give credit where credit's due. Um, of course, the guy himself, he kind of went off the deep end and went down a rabbit hole that I couldn't follow, nor to this day. So, but it was the fact that I started to research for myself certain things, and one of the things that he told me I needed to look into was the Book of Enoch. Um, and the Book of Enoch, for those of you that don't know about it, is it's not anything cult. It's nothing, sometimes people get afraid of things. But the book of Enoch, Enoch was actually one of only two men in the Bible to not die. God actually took them straight to heaven. Enoch is mentioned in the Bible a few times. In fact, his book is quoted in the book of Job, and again is referenced in the Bible. Ancient Christians used to basically look. They would hold the Book of Enoch just as close as the Bible back then. For them, it was part of the Bible up to about 500 years ago. Again, God loved Enoch. Okay, so if you're not familiar with who Enoch is, he's like the great grandfather of Noah. If you got a lot of people, whether you're a Christian or not, know about or at least heard about the flood, right? Noah. So this is, one of his ancestors. All right, Enoch. I'm not going to get too much into like this isn't Sunday school per se, but I wanted to at least kind of explain to you guys why that's important because his book explains so much more, and it's missing from the Bible. It's the when you read the Bible. Okay, so I don't want to get too far ahead. So I read that. Okay. I read that, and there's a lot of things in there about paranormal and the spirit realms. And it really got me to open my eyes, and I'm like, whoa, this is some. This is so on my YouTube channel under like playlists. There's an actual playlist of chronological order audio version of the Bible, King James version, where you can listen, and it's pretty cool. It's really good. I actually listen to a lot when I'm driving. So, but it's a chronological full version of the Bible as well if you wanted to listen to it in chronological order. But anyways, the point is, I listened and I read. I when I read the Bible as an adult for myself, okay, I picked up that book after reading the book of Enoch. I picked up the Bible and I started with Genesis. And let me tell you, when I started reading, things started making more sense. I was like, holy crap. I mean, a lot of things started coming together, and I started to get a a bigger idea of the spirit realm and God and Jesus Christ, all those things. And believe it or not, getting back into the paranormal and reading the Bible, things like that, actually brought me closer to God. And a lot of times that's sometimes opposite. Sometimes people get involved in paranormal and they get away from God. They actually start getting into more like witchcraft, and it leads them into sometimes even satanic cults and things like that. I'm not trying to be dramatic. I'm just saying, sometimes people get involved in the paranormal and they get so far deep into it, they just kind of lose themselves in that direction. So, so that's just something I wanted to point out. But for me, my journey is it was bringing me closer to God. All right. So now you guys kind of understand this is kind of what was shaping me. And because again, I didn't set out to prove the Bible existed, I just set out, and then research started happening. I started reading these ancient transcripts, and the more I read, the more they started to make sense. There's a lot of other things we can get into for other videos, but for now I want to get into reincarnation. That's a big one. A lot of people talk about it. So one day, where I was watching a show, a television show on reincarnation. All right. Um and I am seeing your guys' comments, so I'm taking a moment just to say I am seeing your guys' comments. I appreciate you. Feel free to keep interjecting in there. All right. So Danielle says she's a descendant of Noah. Yeah, I hope so. I hope most of us hopefully should be a descendant of Noah, because there's really only one clean branch from the Bible, and that's does not mean anything bad. There's nothing racist about that. I'm just talking about pure. Just look it up, whatever. Anyways, um, so the TV show. All right, this is important. So I can't remember the name of the show, but it's about reincarnation. Okay, and one of the cases, or one of the things they talk about was there's like several thousand cases in the US that usually occur between ages of 2 to 5 years old and so forth and so on. And I'm just like, wow, really? There's like thousands of cases. So to me, as somebody that looks at the truth lies somewhere in the middle, right? On one hand, you can say, well, reincarnation does not exist at all. Or you can say, yes, absolutely, blah, blah, blah. Well, somewhere in the middle, I got to say, as many cases as there are, I have to say there's something there. Okay, so moving on. During the show, there was a boy, and maybe you guys may have seen this show, but there was a boy that believed he was reincarnated. He was in his previous life, he was like a Hollywood actor, and and it wasn't like a famous actor. Like kids are like, "Oh, I was a Hollywood actor," but this was like an old, just like an actor not real well known. He just had a few little side parts, but it's not like this kid could have just went to Google. All right, this case was really before the internet was. People were always Googling things, and but the bottom line is this kid identified 53 53, not three, 53 facts about this guy's life. Okay. And they were confirmed by the family of this actor. So to me, that tells me there's something to it. So I'm watching this TV show and I'm like, man, you sold me. There's got to be reincarnation. So they had a few other examples. Well, one of the last examples, because by this time, right, I'm watching the show. I'm just going because like they always kind of like, is it real? Is it not real? And they do these cases, and you're like, okay, yeah, it's real. And then they do another case, you're like, I don't know. And they do another case, you're like, oh, okay, it's real. And they do another one, you're like, well, anyways, the last story of the show was a story about a boy who lived in Glasgow, um, and he again was in that age range, 2 to 5 years old. Well, he kept talking about his other mother and all these things. Well, bottom line is he believed that he lived in his past life was in the Isle of Barra. And the Isle of Barra is about 200 miles from Glasgow. And again, at this time, this boy had not gotten a lot of TV input. There's not a lot of things going on. He's not really in school. He's not learning about the Isle of Barra and things like that. But he had these vivid memories. Okay. So there's a man by the name of Dr. Jim Tucker. He's a child psychologist from the University of Virginia School of Medicine. Now we'll talk about him in a little bit, but I wanted to. He was in the show. In fact, he does all the cases, a lot of the child cases in the United States, who claim from the children who claim to have previous lives or like the natal or prenatal dreams or memories. Anyways, so Dr. Jim Tucker goes all the way out to Glasgow, and anyways, they fly this child out to the Isle of Barra. So they fly him, and he has these memories of like, well, he said before they left. I think some of his key memories were like, he remembers a white house on the beach. There was these rocks. There was this particular gate. There was kids. There was like used to play with kids out there on the beach. There was this dog, a black and white dog, and the seaplanes would come in. What else? There was also what other things did he remember? Oh, and that his dad was hit by a car or knocked over by a car, or like a guy was knocked over by a car, and the name of the family was like Robertsons. Well, so they land on this island in a seaplane. So that's kind of, the first little step of something potentially. So they land on this island, and this kid's being like unusually quiet, and they're driving around the island and everything. They really can't seem to find this. They go to the island historian. This island's got a few thousand people on it, And so they go to the historian and they're like, hey, do you know anybody like this? And he was just like, no, no, no. So they go back to the hotel. Well, the next morning, the historian's like, wait a minute. Like, we did have a Robertson family. They did have a White House. Like, hey, go here. So sure enough, they drive out there to this home. And yes, there's this white home on the beach that the Robertsons used to own. So they get out. There was, of course, this particular gate. There was also rocks on the beach. And there you could actually visually see seaplanes landing in the distance. So every aspect so far of this kid's memories of a past life were correct, except there's a few things that put this to like what I call like a halt. Well, they got in touch with the Robertson family. Well, the name of the father, the kid was off. I think the first name was different. Nobody had died. So nobody in that family had died to basically be reincarnated for this kid to have these memories. So that kind of put a stop to things also. And nobody was hit by a car. in that sense. So those few things didn't line up. So even though it was incredible that all the other stuff lined up, there was still those stopping moments. All right. So let me talk a little bit. I'm going to come back to this in a little bit. I'm going to explain a little bit of my light bulb moment from that here in a second. So let's talk a little more about Jim Tucker. So Dr. Jim Tucker, the child psychologist from the University of Virginia, Science of Medicine, again, his main research is children who claim to remember previous lives, natal and prenatal memories. And so he mainly studied U.S. children, and he reported that 70% of cases, the deceased, meaning the previous life, right, the past life reported from the child, had died from unnatural causes. Okay. So there may have been a link to people that died unnaturally being reincarnated. Also, the time between death and rebirth, he found that was an average of 16 months. So that might be a little bit of an interesting fact for you. Now, again, this doctor, keep this in mind, this is not just like 4 or 5 cases. Okay. This doctor has studied hundreds of cases. I think, I can't remember the exact number, but tons of cases. Okay. And he's still on the fence. So he's a doctor. What can you expect? But he is saying, though, that on average, the time between death and rebirth is about 16 months. Okay. Um, Also, he noted that there was often unusual birthmarks that might have matched fatal wounds that were suffered by the deceased in the previous life. So, um, all right. Now, one thing that he did do is Tucker ended up developing SOCS, which is Strength of Case Scale. So it evaluates 4 aspects of potential cases of reincarnation. Okay. One is whether it involves birthmarks/defects that correspond to the previous life. 2, the strength of statements about the previous life. 3, the relevant behaviors as they relate to the previous life. So I'll just interject and say, you ever hear when like parents say, well, he must have been a swimmer in a past life because he didn't get that from us. You ever hear something like that? 4, evaluation of connection between the child and supposed past life. So that's like his 4 critical things that he'll kind of look at and evaluate for the past life. So I just wanted to throw some of those facts out there. Now, I will interject and say that as far as 70% of the cases that were deceased from unnatural causes, I personally am not saying that that is why people get reincarnated. Now, it's potential that because unnatural deaths tend to be more traumatic, that those memories may linger, and or maybe more vivid. Okay. Um, okay. So I wanted to kind of circle back around a little bit and talk um, about that Isle of Bara. So the child that we talked about, remember, he had correctly identified all of these things, and you got to be thinking to yourself, how can that be? I mean, a white house on the beach and the planes landing. I mean, this is like the rocks. There was things that line up that and the family did say that the neighbors had a black and white dog back then that they used to play with out on the beach. So even that lined up. So you're thinking to yourself, so all of these things line up, but yet nobody in the house died so that this kid could be, they were all still alive. The family that lived there was all alive. So how could this kid have these memories, but yet nobody died? So then it hit me. This is when I had my light bulb moment. Who's to say that that child was alive? So, in other words, what if the memories that that kid was experiencing, what if he was a ghost? What if he was a ghost witnessing this family playing on the beach, even maybe even interacting with the dog? You know how like dogs sometimes they seem like they're interacting with spirits? But what if he was a ghost and he was interacting with his family or being with this family, seeing this family? So for a child now who's seeing these memories, he's just interpreting the memories. So the memories are like, hey, I'm picturing being on the beach and I'm picturing a black and white dog. I'm picturing, but he may not have had that full context. What if he was a ghost, right? Witnessing this family, witnessing these things, and those memories from that spirit passed on to him. Now, how did they pass on? How did we get to the reincarnation part? We're going to get into that. We're going to get into that next. But first, we'll take a quick commercial break. Hey guys, if you like the work that we do here at the Everything Paranormal Show, there's many ways that you can help support the channel. Go to the everythingparanormalshow.com, click donate or subscribe. That's going to help us out. And if you can't do that, click like and share, and that's going to help us out in a tremendous way. Thank you so much, guys. All right, we're back. All right, so how do we get into the reincarnation part of things, right? Because again, we see evidence of it, right? We just talked about these shows, these thousands of cases out there in the world, even other parts of the world. All this reincarnation, these children 2 to 5 years old and all these things, we can get into the science of that. Of course, they say that 2 to 5 years old, again, the memories are much more fresh. And of course, that's the age when they're first able to start communicating that, because they don't know how to talk before 2 years old, really, right? So from that 2 to 5, they're able to communicate. But then once they get past 5 years old, they start going to school. The memories start getting, sort of flooded over by life and the world expands, because now they leave their home, so to speak, and they take on school and all this. So that's why the age of 2 to 5 is very crucial, by the way. And the majority of all your cases now, as adults, we've had images or possible dreams, and we can get into that in another show or something. But yes, there's clues as adults. We're like, man, I may have been in the Civil War. I may have, been in an Egyptian princess, whatever. Or there's all kinds of things for that. But I want to get into actual, how does this happen? So for many, here's the dilemma, right? For many, if you're Christian, it's tough because how do you believe in the Bible, which tells us when we die, we're going to go to heaven or hell, right? So if you're Christian, how do you believe in reincarnation, but yet believe in the Bible? See, one thing I've noticed over the years in paranormal is that I hear people all the time giving me their theories on different aspects of paranormal, but they don't talk about the full picture of how it all works. So they'll talk about, yeah, I believe in reincarnation. I think that you get reincarnated over and over until you get it right. That could be your theory. But then they talk about God and Jesus, and they're like, oh yeah, I'm a Christian. I believe in God and Jesus Christ. And then they talk about this subject and whatever. But then when you put all their theories together, it's like, well, how do they gel? How does that work? Right? How can you believe in reincarnation like that, like a Hinduism style, like a Hindu style, right? Where you keep coming back and till you get it right, so to speak, or the Christianity version where you're not really reincarnating and all that other stuff. So How does this all work? So I'm going to explain what I feel is the Christian version of reincarnation and why I think that this makes sense. All right. So the first thing I want to say is most of us agree that our we are made up of three main parts: our physical body, some more than others, our spirit, and our soul. Okay. Now, our spirit and our soul are merged together. They're completely wove together. Nobody can separate your spirit and your soul. Nobody except one person, or should I say, God. God is the only person that can separate your spirit from your soul. Okay. Now, if you're not sure, then you can pull out a Bible, King James Version, or whatever you want to pull out. Look up Hebrew 4:12. And it says, "For the word of God is living and active, sharper than any two-edged sword, piercing to the division of soul and spirit, of joints and of marrow, and discerning the thoughts of dissension of the heart." God can divide the spirit from the soul, and he does this actually as part of how he determines judgment. When God is casting judgment, he separates your spirit and your soul. Now, stay with me on this, because again, we're going to ancient scriptures, right? This is stuff from ancient scriptures. The Bible is ancient scripture. Okay, now we're going to dive a little closer into another clue that was given to us by um, 2 Corinthians 5, 1 through 5, and also 6, 1 through 10. All right. So let me pull that real quick here. Okay. So this is a little bit of reading, but just listen to this. "For we know that when this earthly tent we live in is taken down, that is, when we die and leave this earthly body, we will have a house in heaven, an eternal body made for us by God Himself and not by human hands. We grow weary in our present bodies, and we long to put on our heavenly bodies like new clothing. For we will put on heavenly bodies, we will not be spirits without bodies. But it's not that we want to die and get rid of these bodies that clothe us. Rather, we want to put out our new bodies, and these dying bodies shall be swallowed up by life. God Himself has prepared us for this, and His guarantee is given us by His Holy Spirit." And it goes on. You can read as it goes on more, again, in that 6, 1 through 10. But my point is, when you read that section of 2 Corinthians, what you'll find is the clues is that God gives us a new heavenly spirit. So when God separates our spirit from our soul, when our soul goes to heaven, it gets a new spirit body. It gets a heavenly. Throw that away. It gets a new heavenly one. Right? That's what you transcend to. Now, the old spirit body, the one that's pulled apart, right? Your original earthbound spirit body. In my opinion, this has the same imprints. This is like a carbon copy of your soul. Your soul, what makes you unique, your traits, that's imprinted onto your spirit body. Okay? So God recycles that spirit body, new soul, with your spirit body, which may have been passed on from other spirit bodies in the past. Why, you might say? It's simple. God's just putting good back into the humanity. This is what's passing on into humanity, right? These traits of people that go to heaven, these traits, God has taken these carbon copies of traits and He's mixing them with again, and layering on another one onto the next soul. So that soul is unique. That soul is unique, but it has a collection of traits and memories from the previous lives. Sometimes we've heard cases of previous lives that go back hundreds of years, multiple lives. People have done sessions and remembered multiple lives in their past. So that means, to me, yes, God is recycling those earth spirit bodies, the earth bound spirit bodies. So Bob says God has a recycling bin. Hey, why not? Why not use that? Because our spirit bodies is what connects us to the earthbound spiritual network. If it was a cell phone, this is our spirit bodies what connects us to that network. Does that make sense? So again, God takes that, uses it for the next soul. Why not? It makes sense to me. It makes sense. It makes sense that that would explain why we have these memories, why we have traits from other people in past lives. But at the same time, we're all unique souls, and our souls will go on to heaven. All right. Because I don't know about you, but my purpose in life is, when I die, I don't want my soul of who I am to get copied over. I don't want that. I wanted to die, go to heaven, and I want to remember these memories. I want to have my wife with me in heaven. I want to remember our life together and cherish those memories together in eternity. To me, that is romantic. To me, that is a good purpose of life. Not just like, oh, you died, just throw you in another body and copy over. You know, uh, and oh, you just got to keep doing it until you make it right. I just don't buy that. I don't buy that. I don't want that. I want to have the memories from this life, not a previous life. I don't care about any of that. I can't remember it. I want these memories, the soul of who I am. That's who I want to spend eternity with my wife and my family. So that's a little bit of my take on the reincarnation from what I found in the scriptures and from what seems to make sense when we see these reincarnation cases. Again, if you take the fact that there is these children, they are remembering these things. Now, again, people say, and this is where I also looked at that argument. The reason why I brought up the Isle of Bara is because I do think that, yes, as a ghost in the spirit realm, again, I think you can witness these events, you can have these memories. So when that time comes, if that spirit was a spirit soul that was trapped in the spirit realm for 16 months or however long, and then God called him up to be judged, whatever, he found the light, whatever works, that's when his spirit body was recycled. And that child was had those memories, those imprints of that guy. And maybe even when the child was talking about a particular name, the first name, and maybe the guy getting hit by the car, whatever, maybe that was other memories. Again, that could have been a memory of how that guy died, and he was seeing it from a third person perspective, or it was just another memory. Children are children. They're not going to get it exactly right with their memories. But this kid got a majority of the memories right, that ghost may have been witnessing and felt like it was a part of that family, was out there on the beach with those kids, was out there with that dog. So that's why when some of these researchers are like, well, we do have some cases of where it does seem like it's real, but then we have some that just didn't work out. This kid remembered he was in a shipyard in 1923 in Chicago, and we went back and we couldn't find this particular guy, this particular shipyard. We couldn't corroborate that. Well, again, who's to say that some of these memories are not memories of being a ghost? Doesn't mean that they were actually there. These kids they're 2, 5 years old, they can't always interpret that. They just tell you what they see in their memories. They're like, well, I see ships and whatever. They can't say that they were actually there or if they were a ghost or not. So, um, All right. So Bob says the Bible doesn't say any of these new spirit bodies cannot come back to experience more. Even some of the old religious leaders believed Jesus might be reincarnation of one of the past prophets. Well, and that's what I'm saying is that the Bible's not going to tell you, it's not a user manual for how God operates. It's a user manual for us on how to, have a relationship with God. The New Testament, the Old Testament is the covenant between God and us, and the New Testament is the new covenant, the new covenant between us and God through Jesus Christ, right? So, but it's not a user manual of how God operates. But if you look at the clues and you read the passages, and not even just going by the word, but also by what we're finding with this research. We are seeing that, yes, kids are having these reincarnation things. I know my wife talks about, memories and certain vivid things, and was told about certain past lives. So we know it's out there, and it does seem to be confirmed. Like I said, you can look at the kid that correctly identified 53 facts from somebody's previous life. That's a lot. That's definitely confirmation, in my opinion, that this kid got something right. All right, and not through Google. Okay. Now, like I said, if this kid was like, "Hey, I used to be John Wayne," and this kid Googled John Wayne and memorized every single thing about John Wayne, I understand. Like, well, probably made up. But the fact that that this guy doesn't even really publicly exist, um, but this kid yet could correctly identify 53 things that were confirmed by the family. That's crazy. That this kid had there was no connection. Remember, that was part of that forced strength of K scale was evaluation of connection between child and the supposed past previous life. So, do you believe that Daniel says? Do you believe that dreams of spirits are parts of reincarnation? Dreams of spirits. Well, let's just look at dreams. I think dreams is a mixture of things, to be honest with you. I think there's sometimes when we can have dreams that are warnings. I think we can have dreams that are of potential memories, but I think I'm not always saying necessarily just dreams of when you go to bed and wake up. Sometimes there's visions that come to us, that visions that happen at the weirdest times. And yeah, so I do think that some of your past lives through again, so the best way to sum up what I'm talking about is reincarnation of spirit body versus reincarnation of soul, right? So I just believe that we are reincarnations of spirit bodies, and we have a unique soul that's meshed with these reincarnated spirit bodies. That's what keeps humanity going. That's just all part of handing down just different aspects of humanity. But so yeah, I think that with dreams again, because we operate on these frequencies and these wavelengths, so there's no reason why, again, as far as communication with visitation, people you don't. Okay, so you say of people visitation of people you don't know. Again, I mean, if you're carrying memories, regressed memories. Now, again, we've had hypnotists that have went in through hypnosis to people, and people talk about. I remember another case where a guy was talking about being some priest that committed suicide in some uppity Catholic or college or whatever over in I think Ireland or something. Anyways, they tracked it down, and he was pretty right. They found out there was an actual case of this. So, and that was through hypnosis. He wasn't even a believer, right? So again, you probably could. I don't know if I would put myself under hypnosis, but I'm sure there's people that can go in and unlock some of these layered lives in our spirit realm or our spirit. So again, you may have connections to other people. Now, whether or not you get visited from relatives from other people because they think you're somebody, I don't know if that would be the case. There may be something else into that. You have to look at individual cases on things like that too. You might be getting visited by a stranger, and then there might be another reason for that. So that could just be paranormal, and somebody's trying to tell you something. Rachel says the other kid, the UVA professor studied, got something like 94/100 facts correct, told down to the man's car, house, his sister being a dancer. Okay, so I said 53. So you're saying like 94 out of 100. So that's even more. I mean, if I thought it was like 53, but maybe I guess I was wrong. Maybe it's updated since then. I don't know. Because by the way, guys, I want to take another minute here and say, if you haven't bought my book, okay, go to Amazon. Go to Amazon. It's called My Paranormal: A Guide to the Spirit Realms. And in fact, page 163 is the section on reincarnation. All right, where I actually talk about what we talked about tonight and many other theories and stuff that I've researched over the years, all in my book. Again, it's on Amazon. Just look up My Paranormal: A Guide to the Spirit Realms by Josh Morris. You can buy the paperback, or, well, I'll just say or, because you can buy the ebook also, but you can also get the ebook. So, oh, she said, sorry, different kid. Well, and that's what I'm talking about. This kid was a Hollywood extra. Well, that's what I was talking about. That's one of the kids I was originally talking about. Like the two cases I was talking about was when the kid that was like the Hollywood extra, right? And then the other one that said something about, or the other one with the Isla Barra. Now there's other cases. I mean, there's like the one with the World War II pilot, or one of the pilot ones where the kid was a reincarnation of that pilot. And that was really cool. He got a lot of things correct on that. Some things that people he wouldn't have known. Again, there is cases of reincarnation out there proving to me that yes, we are getting these memories. But again, I personally, this is just my opinion, I just don't believe that my soul. I mean, think about it, guys. There's a reason why in marketing we push the individual, right? Be unique, be one of a kind. You are yourself. You're unique. You are your own person, because we are. We were created. We are, whether you believe in God or not, we are all unique, right? So again, for me, I just don't believe that my soul is going to get copied over. I don't want that. I don't want that to be the purpose of life. I'm going to be pissed if that's the case. Because I do believe in a lot of the transcripts. I do believe there's a lot of things to back that up. And that's a whole nother subject. If you want to get into religion, there's a whole other subject. And I don't want to get too much into that. I'm already been touching enough of religion, but I just wanted to explain to you guys why I felt like this. The research that I came across, and between the actual research, like Dr. Jim Tucker, between seeing those cases, between the stuff that I've read, between all of those things, and all of the years that I've been going through and learning and hearing stories, to me, it makes the most sense that our spirit bodies would recycle, and those have the imprints of our souls on them. So our souls, it's not that we actually was that person in that previous life, but we have their memories, we have their traits, or we get some of their abilities in that sense. Like if somebody was a good swimmer, one day when Michael Phelps passes away, some kid's probably going to get his spirit body and he's going to be an amazing swimmer. You know what I mean? So I know I probably inherited somebody that likes to eat. I can tell you that much, because I definitely inherited a weight problem, I think. And it didn't show up until later in my life. I think, I don't know. Maybe because, the other parts I inherited, the athletic part, was earlier in my life. And I don't know. So maybe as the older we get, like the past lives, like I'll get to a certain age where this traits we'll move on, and then another life will kick in, and I'll be like, hey, I feel like all of a sudden I want to work out and be healthy now. Uh, I don't know when that's going to be. Hopefully soon. I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there. Um, so guys, I hope that you enjoy. I think a lot of you did kind of stick around. We'll talk a little more. Don't just run off yet. But I do want to say I really hope you enjoyed tonight's discussion about my reincarnation theories. Um, Again, because I do feel like we should all be able to transcend to something great, our soul of who we are now, the life that we're living now, the memories that we're making. Now we can go back and talk a little more theory. Here's another interesting theory. If we go back to Tucker's research, one thing he did say, and we talked about it a little bit, was 70% of the cases were that the deceased were unnatural cause. They died of unnatural causes. So you could also say that what if that these people died of unnatural causes? Maybe they didn't have a chance to find God. Maybe God's giving them another chance. You could also look at that too, seeing that a large portion of these cases were unnatural deaths. Um, I don't know. You could look at that theory. There's all kinds of theories out there, and you know what? In all honesty, I'm not. I don't have to just follow my theory. This is just what I feel like over the years through the research. I feel like this is a most plausible explanation for reincarnation and religion. If you're Christian and you feel guilty about believing in reincarnation, I didn't just invent this to relieve that guilt, but to me, I just kind of kept plaguing me. Like I don't like how come reincarnation seems to exist, but yet I do believe in the Bible and I do believe in some of the things. And like there was this conflict in my head, and I'm like, I've got to do some more research. So through that research and through the epiphany I had with that television show, in combination with the research, that's when I was like, holy crap, that makes sense. It makes sense that we still would have like spirits and all these other things which seem to be true, and there seems to be a God and everything else. But yet, reincarnation, that also could be completely true. But instead of a soul reincarnation, it's a spirit body reincarnation. So it makes sense to me. Um, let's see. I'm sorry again. I told you guys. I apologize if I missed some of your comments tonight. This was a lot of theory. I had to make sure I had tons of notes. I wanted to make sure to give you guys a lot of the facts that I came across or the opinions. I wanted to make sure I remembered those. So, guys, if you had anything good earlier that I missed, pop it in here again. So, let's see. I'm gonna kind of go back just a little bit. I don't want to come back and do this over. I must have been a Parmesan cheesemaker or something. BRS Media, I'm about to do a show on Conspiracy Corner that is an alien interview where the alien, says Earth is a spirit prison planet and they keep our soul trapped here. Yeah, that sounds crazy. I don't know. Again, look, guys, I'm open for many theories. I am. I don't like a lot of my theories that I've learned over the years. I don't just again, it's a lot through research, a lot through what I've experienced with paranormal investigations and trying to find the truth in the middle. That's where my theories come from. But I'm also, even though I hold those pretty close to my heart, I always like to listen to other people's theories. I do like to listen and I do like to incorporate because yes, there's times when I'm like, sometimes some theories may sound like, well, what about this? Well, sometimes I'll think about it and then it's like sometimes their thoughts actually connect to what I'm talking about. They just didn't realize it. And then so who knows? You like I said, you learn stuff all the time. Let's see. I see you see me. I'm in the same boat. I'm not doing this twice. BRS Media, we are all former spirits from other dimensions and planets. We didn't conform to those versions, and we are sent here to learn. I like all these ideas, or I like these ideas. Um, Now, again, if you wanted to veer away, again, I'm only talking about my theories on reincarnation because it's my show. So back off. I'm just kidding. No, I'm only talking about my theories because, again, that's my opinion. Now, if you wanted to get away from that and talk about other reincarnation theories and things like that, absolutely. Like we could be we could be musical planets. I've heard people talk about maybe we pass away here and we actually start a new life on a new planet, and you start on a new planet, and you actually do remember your earth life, but you're now on another planet, and you're now into this level, and then you just keep leveling up or whatever. You keep going to these other planets, and you retain these different memories and whatever, and this is like the starting point. We all start off on earth, and we move our way up. I've also heard of different dimensions. Again, I've heard many theories. um who knows? Again, I just try to connect the dots with what I like when I'm talking to spirits, when we're communicating, when we do have paranormal activity here, um, when we got children with these cases of things. Again, I just try to look at what we actually are experiencing, what people over our thousands of years of history have documented, what they've experienced, and I just try to put that all together in that sense. When you start going beyond that, and you really get into a lot of these quantum physics level theories, again, anything's possible. It just might be all energy, and there is no God. I hope not. I love God. I think I look at this life. My viewpoint is I just look how beautiful the universe is, and how beautiful just Earth is, and I just can't imagine that it was just all an accident or an all a bang. I do believe in God. So yeah, I always like to keep myself open. Again, that's how I got here. I was slipping away from my beliefs. I was just slipping away. I didn't have any real direction. I was just living life. And it was through paranormal and through somebody challenging my beliefs to get me to say, wait a minute, let me think about it. Let me start researching this. So I always tell people, listen, I'm not pushing Christianity on you. I'm not here to preach. But what I am saying is, if you're on the fence, if you're just not sure, maybe you're doubting things, you're doubting God, especially nowadays, life is rough right now. And a lot of people are like, God, a lot of people are turning to heaven, and they're saying, like, God, where are you? Where are you right now? But I would say, look, pick up some books and read. Read for yourself. Start with the Book of Enoch. There's copies out there. And guess what? If you don't want to read, there's audio versions of the Book of Enoch as well. They're great to listen to. Read that first, or listen to it first, and then go to YouTube, go to my playlist that I have set up for you, a chronological order of the Bible, and listen to it. But listen to it. It's not so much that I'm trying to preach God down you. Think about it from a paranormal exploration. Okay, because you will start to hear in things. Again, you're going to go, wow, there's a lot of things that I didn't realize. Some of you may have been kids when you were going through the Bible, and let's face it, if you went to churches, and maybe you don't go to church anymore, churches like to preach certain parts of the Bible because it makes people feel good, and their overall goal is to put butts in the pews, right? So maybe you have that skewed perspective. But that's why I tell people, go back and read the Bible for yourself, because there are so many stories in there that it really brings a lot of light to things you were just like, wow, I didn't realize that. I didn't realize that. Trust me, I'm telling you, it's a lot cooler than you think. All right. Just do it for yourself. And you will learn a lot about the spirit realms, about Earth, the history. There's a lot of things that make sense. And we can go into other things. One of the things I like to talk about is the ancient times, pre flood. And I like to talk about the fallen angels, the hybrids, the giants, right? I love talking about that stuff because to me, I know it existed. People say, how do you know giants existed? Well, not only has there been actual discoveries of the remains of giants, but guys, it was common. Research it yourself. It was common up until, God, I don't know, like 60 years or so. There was a point, even in the newspapers back then, old newspapers they would find remains of giant skeletons, giants, and it was published in the paper. Now they're editing and controlling the narrative all the time in these last several decades. They don't want people to know all that stuff. So I'm not going to get into that subject tonight, but that's another subject that we could always talk about in the future. If you guys want to hear about the evolution of the evil spirit, where does evil spirits come from? I did do a video a long time ago about it, but if you guys want a new modern version of evil spirits and where they come from and spirit realms, things like that, I'd be more than happy to talk more about those things. So, um, so let's see. Amen, brother. I've died in 2012 for 8 minutes and also at age 7. Both times Jesus told me it's not my time. There's a lot of people with the same experience. It just has me pondering what is that about. Unfortunately, it will be on a Thursday night at 9. Just remember, seek and ye shall find. God will give you the info you are hunting for when you need it. There's a book about the cover up. We even have a name for them, Gigantopithecus. See, you're gonna mess me up now. Gigantopithecus. They're legit. Anyways, yes, there was giants. Let's just put it that way. Called the Greta Smithsonian cover up of giants in North America. Yes, obviously, like I said, I didn't want to get into that. So you're right. You guys are absolutely all right. You guys are spot on. I appreciate you throwing in your info on that. So, but that's true. And that's what I'm saying. There's so many things, guys. That's why I'm always saying seek the truth because there's more to it. And I want to clarify for the record, I'm not against church as an institution. My problem is that so many of the churches, and this is why people have gotten away from the church, because it created this weird, I don't want to say cult like, but churches would go, there were a lot of people would become social. The preachers were only covering different parts of the Bible and using them to turn around into lessons for modern day times, which is fine. I get that, but it was more of a business. And then there was a lot of judgment. Like a lot of people just naturally tend to start judging their fellow churchgoers, and it becomes this gossip circle. And I've been to multiple different churches that this has been a problem, and people have told me this. I've heard these things. So a lot of people have turned away from the churches because of this stuff. So I'm just saying, look, I'm not telling you have to believe in Christianity or whatever. That's again your own beliefs. I'm just saying you'll be surprised if you go and read the book of Enoch for yourself and then read the Bible. You're going to be like, holy crap. Enoch and the Bible goes together. Again, I told you there's quotes in the Bible of Enoch. Enoch's mentioned in the Bible multiple times. It goes hand in hand. Ancient Christians like that was part of their Bible. Even the Ethiopians, the Ethiopian Orthodox Church still has Enoch in their Bible. And guys, I'm telling you, Enoch really explains a lot. God had him as his righteous scribe. God wanted him to record these things for a later generation. That's why Enoch has been making a comeback. God said for the end of times or the end of days, like the later generations. So this is what I'm telling you. There was a purpose. Read it or listen to it. Go and start reading the Bible. Listen to the Bible again. Learn these things as a paranormal journey. And if you go through and you read all that and you have other beliefs, cool, whatever. I mean, that's up to you. But I'm just telling you what happened on my journey and what led me to here and what started connecting all the dots over all the years I've been doing this. So, with that said, guys, so let's see. Rachel says, "Yep, the poor Bible has been so heavily edited and rewritten anyway, to the point the earliest versions even reference gods with an S." Well, look, this is what I always tell people. Okay, so read Enoch and then read the Bible, but now there's on your phone. All right, I have an app. Let's see. I want to say I have an app. Hold on. I was like looking at my wife's text. She's like, "Read your comments." Sorry, honey. I try, but this was like a show where I'm educating. So I told people it's gonna be hard to read comments. See, y'all look. Terry Lynn is she fights for you guys all the time. She's always like, "Hey, look at the chat, look at the chat." So, but anyways, there is a app. I think it's called like One Bible, and what's really cool about it is that when you read a verse, if you need clarification, you can just pick your like today when I talked about Hebrews 4:12. You can go in, you can pull up whatever version you want, King James 2000, whatever, national, the English Standard Version, like whatever version you want. It's really cool. And then that verse that you're looking at, that will all change to whatever version. So you can sit there and scroll and pick different versions and see the interpretations, the scholars that interpreted the original Bible and all the different versions. The New International Version, the English Standard Version, all that stuff. You can check it out. And what's cool about that is like there's like a verse in Psalms or something where it talks about rivers and floods with an S. I'm like, floods? Was there like more than I only know of one big flood. So I'm just like, is this a conspiracy? Did I just read something that's going to be like some major conspiracy? So I started looking at the other versions, and a lot of the modern versions actually translate to rivers and seas. So that makes sense. I'm like, oh, rivers and seas. So the King James version was translated again for the king to understand. Okay. So a lot of people think like this, like the absolute holy version. And it's just a version. It's not the original. It's just a version, and it was a version for the king. So there's other versions since that's been translated by scholars from Hebrew scholars. So there's other versions. That's why I said it's okay. Some people get scared, like, oh, if I read another version, I'm going to hell. No, because Second Timothy, was it 2:15 or whatever, tells you that you're basically you're trying to find the word of God, the true word of God. So, anyways, it's okay to understand. Anyway, so you go those different versions, and it helps to clarify. So I just wanted to bring that up. So if you have an app like that, or get that app, and that will really help you to understand some of these different translations, or maybe even clarify something when it's like when you get to some wording you may not understand. But in any case, guys, I'm not here to preach. I'm not here to sell you on Christianity. I just wanted to explain to you my side of things, and where I am with everything. I hope you guys enjoyed my take on my reincarnation theory. I feel like it's a very plausible theory. It makes sense to me. But again, I'm always open for other things if you guys have other ideas. And also, if you guys have any future ideas for other theory shows, I know last week We did some theory, and you guys loved it. So I said, hey, let's dive into some like let's hit it. Let's hit it hard and dive into reincarnation. That's a big one right there. So if you guys want more of this, again, we'll do something else involving theory next week. If you guys have any ideas, make sure you send me a line, drop me a line, whether it's in the Facebook, whether it's during the show, drop me an email. My email's been scrolling, everythingparanormalshow@gmail.com. So, guys, hit me up on that. Last but not least, as we start to wrap up the show, guys, go to Paranormal Underground magazine. All right. If you have not got or gotten the Paranormal Underground magazine, then what are you waiting for, man? If you like paranormal, go there. Go to their website, Paranormal Underground. I want to say it's paranormalunderground.net or whatever. But go just type in Paranormal Underground magazine. You'll find their website. Contact them and just say, hey, Josh sent me from the Everything Paranormal show, and they will give you a year free, an entire year of fully illustrated digital magazines sent to you in your email for the next year, every month on the 1st. Guys, it's an awesome, awesome magazine. So go check out Paranormal Underground magazine. Guys, B3 Airspace. Hey everyone, sorry, been listening, watching, and eating Doritos. That's good. That's good, I guess. Don't eat too many Doritos because you're gonna look like me. I eat too many Doritos. I gotta start eating less Doritos. Doritos is definitely one of my weaknesses. We can talk about food. That's for sure. So I pizza, Doritos, like anything good that most people are like, hey, that's bad for you. Yeah, that's probably because I probably eat it and like it. But no, we do have some good food that we eat, and it is we eat some pretty good healthy food. But I eat a lot of it though. That's my problem. So, while I have to get with Paranormal Underground magazine and get one. Yes, Bob. Yes, Bob. And you know what? Even maybe you could write articles for them because you're so good at that. Maybe you could write articles for them, Bob. Spirits like good sex. But I like good spirits. It's funny because I don't even drink anymore. If cheese is wrong, I don't want to be right. Right? See, now we're all going to be talking about, and guess what? The end of this show is going to promote bad health because you know why? Because if you haven't been snacking, now after this show, you're going to want to go to the fridge and get some cheese and crackers or get some chips, get some Doritos or whatever, right? So, all right, guys. If you have any last minute questions, now let me ask you guys: do you have any last minute questions about like reincarnation, any of the stuff we covered? I know it's pretty thorough, but if you guys have any last minute questions regarding like reincarnation theory or anything else, go ahead and get that in there because we're about to wrap up, guys. We actually went in an hour and 21 minutes. It's been a great long show tonight. I had a lot to cover, and I actually have the night off from one of my 3 jobs. Well, technically, I am working my 3rd job right now, but I actually got a night off from my 2nd job. So I'm actually going to be doing some editing tonight, guys. Try to get some more editing so we can get you some more content because I'm still trying to get that Hales Bar Dam stuff out to you guys and the old South Pittsburgh Hospital. Fantastic show. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. But guys, I'm sure you guys have had, there's a lot of comments just trying to go through here. I really do appreciate you guys are always a great audience. Seriously. And if you want more of these theoretical shows, believe me, I love to talk theory. Again, buy my book, My Paranormal Guide to the Spirit Realms, Amazon, paperback or ebook, or both. You can get both. think there's even a package deal on that. But yeah, yeah. I see. Looking back on the comments, I see where Terry Lynn was talking about um, one of the kids when we were one of our sons. That was the sailboat stuff. Yeah, I mean, but guys, paranormal, huh? Well, you talked about it in the chat. Terry Lynn, she's getting on to me, but I love her. And like I said, I can't always keep up with the chat while I'm doing the show. I got a lot of facts to put out to you guys tonight. So, you guys are awesome though, seriously. And look, I definitely want to give a shout out to my wife. She's definitely my chat moderator. She stays on top of me and she helps you guys out in the chat. So, I really want to thank her. She's definitely an integral part of my show, and I couldn't do it without her. And I want to thank you guys for that. You guys are always starting to show up now. I think some of you are starting to regularly show up. I always had like ICUC, me and Bob and stuff, but now I've been getting like Rachel Electro and the Ingenez family. Danielle is going to start showing up, I'm sure, all the time now. Rich Wheeler, also AKA BRS Media. Um, oh God, who else am I missing? Like some of you regulars. Um, who else? Who else? Who else? But you guys know who you are because you guys are always showing up. And I apologize if I'm missing you. And some of you, Oracles and Beyond, I think was earlier. But some of you guys, man, if I haven't shouted you out, I apologize. Beat 3 Airspace, obviously. Tangolata, I didn't see her, or Tatalanga, I didn't see her tonight. Him tonight, not her. I didn't see him tonight, but he's been showing up every once in a while. But guys, you guys are awesome. It's been a great show. And Terry Lynn, the last question I got. So I see me says, "How is Terry Lynn?" She's doing good. She's doing good. Busy. Again, we've been busy. My son's been playing a lot of tennis, which is why I worked 3 jobs to support his tennis career. He had a really good day at tennis today. And I'll just say this as we end the show. I know this is not really on subject, but it's my show. I don't care. So, just in a nutshell, it's like if I don't even know how to describe this. So, imagine, imagine, imagine this. Okay. Imagine you're in high school. I'm just going to go with high school. But imagine you're like in high school and you had a coach and he pretty much said like, "Hey, uh, you know, get out of here. I don't want you in my training. Um, whatever, whatever." Right? So you go off and you spend a few years basically training and kicking butt on your own. And you go and you find another coach and all this stuff. So imagine you get to go back and you show back up to this camp, so to speak, this coach, this your old coach, and you're like, "Hey, I do you have anybody I could hit with? Because let's just say like your partner didn't show up to the tennis court." So he says, "Yeah, I got this guy who happens to be my second best player in my camp." Well, let's say you stomp that kid's ass, uh, who, again, this coach had dismissed you a few years ago, and now you come back and stomp his second best kid. So it just feels good. Like, so yes, my son pretty much did that. He got to come back and do something amazing today. So I'm really proud of him. It's not every day when we get those real life chances where we get to go back and to really show somebody, hey, uh, you shouldn't have let me go. Sucks for you. So he got to do that, and you know, so that's really awesome. So I'm glad he did that.
Hi again. I'm wearing a green shirt.
Look at that ghost.
Ghost.
Like a ghost kid. So I guess whenever I talk about him, he gets happy, he gets mushy. So yeah, Ray says heard he was whipping the old kids and backhanding them at the next week. Yeah, and that's cool. Like it, I mean, I didn't always get those chances when I was a kid. Like I would get dismissed sometimes, and then like I never really got the exact that kind of revenge. So, but it was cool for my son. It just the stars lined up perfectly. He was able to go back and beat the second best player at this training facility when they were trying to get him to play like the seventh or eighth best or worst player or whatever. They're like, oh, play that. But then they were like, oh, hey, play this kid. And he was the second best. So it's like, and then, so for them to think that he was here, but then to stomp up here, this was awesome. Anyways, so yeah, I live for stories like this. Absolutely. He ghosted. Proud of that Ghostbuster. Yes, today definitely he was a ball buster, a tennis ball buster. So, oh, but yes, guys, this has been an amazing show. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Again, if you want more of it, let me know in the comments. Let me know in just send me a message me, email me, whatever you got to do. Let me know what you want to talk about, or on the Facebook group. Make some comments. Say, hey, what about this? I'd like to learn, or let's talk more about this. I'll be happy to do that, guys. So remember, seek the truth. We'll see you in the next video, guys.